Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 98, written by Huge-Ass 347. From the inanimate is work conjured. Decayed steps mysteriously rebuilt. A while ago, maybe 5 years or so, me and some friends broke into an abandoned house. The front door was completely blocked off and sealed. You would have to destroy it to get in that way. We got in by breaking a window in the backyard and climbing in. It was a long abandoned home. The architecture was early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s. It was quite interesting actually. We found a bunch of old books, newspapers, and notes gone brownish yellow from age, with dates on them from the 1920s to 30s. I remember one handwritten note had the date May 1930 something. Can't remember the exact year, but it was 1930s, at the top, and it said something like, "Dear so-and-so, how's your family? How's your child with the flu? Are they all right?" Mundane stuff like that. Anyway, there was crap everywhere, like I mean all over the place. You could barely walk. Destroyed furniture, a doll collection, a broken grand piano, books and stuff like I already mentioned. This is important to remember. So we went to explore the basement of this house, but we couldn't because the stairs leading down were destroyed. The first 2 steps from the top were there, then a giant gap, then the very last step before the bottom. The stairs, what was left of them, were old and rotten looking. They were cracked, dark brown and moldy, so we said screw it and left. The next day we went back with another friend, and this time there was a ladder laid flat over the giant gap in the stairs, with the rungs acting like makeshift steps. We thought this was a little weird, but figured someone else must have come in when we weren't there and laid the ladder over the gap to get to the basement. We ended up climbing down the ladder and exploring ourselves. After that, we left. The next day, for some reason, we went back again. This time though, the stairs were intact. No ladder, no giant gap, all the steps were there. And I'm not talking repaired. If someone had repaired them, they would have looked new compared to everything else in the house, new wood and whatnot. But they didn't. They looked old and rotten like everything else in this house. Old, dark brown, cracked, moldy wood. These stairs were not repaired. They were never broken to begin with, which was completely impossible. We had seen them broken the nights before, and there's no way someone brought tools into the house through the sealed door, objects lying all over the place, then repaired only the steps in one day and left. There's just no way. We kind of freaked out seeing those stairs, and left pretty quickly after that. I'm not really a supernatural kind of person. I don't believe in ghosts or even glitches in the Matrix for that matter. But to this day, those stairs give me the heebie-jeebies. I have no idea how they fixed themselves, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. Case notes, file number 98. I love it when mysterious events happen to skeptical people. Not because I think everyone should believe in the paranormal, but because prior to even posting this in your mind, you went through all the possibilities that you and your friends could fathom. Yet it still makes no sense. And it's not some monumental glitch, but it still is impossible. We're just talking about steps. It's such a small thing, inanimate, that most would just dismiss out of hand without thinking of it. Yeah, definitely. Someone just came in and repaired it. That's it. That is the logical explanation, right? I'm thinking actually this could be a sign of quantum immortality, which to me isn't really a glitch. It's a feature of reality that's not well documented yet. So in this new universe, the steps are still decayed, but they're passable, unlike in your original universe. I prefer referring to them as servers. Case file number 99, written by Matt the Martian. A demon, a spirit. Whatever he was, his name was Denny. This story takes place over several years and happened while I was in late high school, early community college. My 2 best friends lived directly across the street from one another. Mike had been there most of his life while Rob and his parents moved in directly across the street. We used their street as a headquarters chill spot and would spend most of our days together. It was always us three, and then random friends that would come and go as well. Since Rob's house was bigger, the three of us, along with anyone else that joined, would all gather primarily in his house, as it had a large finished basement and it was easier to just be teenagers down there. Rob also used it as his computer room and for band practice. Weird things started to happen that we couldn't explain. Entire groups of people were experiencing this, so I know we weren't crazy. It bothered some of us, but for the most part, we were just curious about it. Being teenagers, we all just instantly classified it as demons, of course. Off the top of my head, here are some isolated events. Heavy footsteps upstairs in the middle of the night. We went upstairs, grabbed kitchen knives, walked the whole house. Even upstairs, both his parents were dead asleep and didn't see anything. Upon further inspection, we noticed a sand dollar decoration that Rob's mom had set up on the living room coffee table was smashed to pieces, just sitting on the coffee table as if struck with a hammer. We also inspected the old grandfather clock and noticed the pendulum wasn't swinging. It usually does. The clock was icy cold to the touch. Following a party, all of us crashed in the basement. I want to say there were at least 5 people there. We kept hearing this weird 8-bit music coming from an unidentifiable source. No matter where we were looking, the sound seemed to be coming from nowhere and everywhere all at once. None of us were able to identify what the tune or melody was. One of our friends got upset and went home. Another night, Mike saw a shadow figure go into the laundry room. It was a room connected to the basement, and when he turned on the light and went in there, of course there was nothing there. All of us were accounted for, so it wasn't anyone pulling a prank. I wasn't there for this one, but Rob and Mike were hanging out alone at Rob's house and claimed that they had to lock themselves in one of the bedrooms upstairs as they felt something chasing or stalking them. They heard footsteps rushing up the stairs and then at the door. An assortment of random events, things being misplaced, strange sounds at night. These would happen periodically over the years. One night, Rob claims the demon showed itself to him in the basement when he was there alone. It didn't seem threatening. It was a man wearing a denim jacket, standing in the hallway propped up against the wall with his arms crossed. It then dissipated. Rob said he didn't feel threatened or scared, and that he felt rather comfortable with this ghost. There was nothing malicious about it. Since we didn't have a name for it, we decided to just name the ghost Denny. Because of his denim jacket, we now had a name for it and would refer to this ghost as Denny for the remainder of time. Whenever we'd see Rob at school or around town, we'd ask him if he's seen or heard of Denny lately. I don't actually remember if he saw the apparition again, but small things would happen here or there, and we'd all just chalk it up to Denny and move on with our days. We officially stopped being afraid of it, strangely. One day, I was hanging out with Mike and his mom across the street at Mike's. Rob wasn't home, so it was just us. Mike's mom had been a local bartender in the area for decades, and we were just sharing some Denny stories with her. I'm pretty sure a Denny event happened the day prior, so we were just giving her a recap of what we experienced. Keep in mind, we had not mentioned the name Denny to her, as she didn't have any context, so we just referred to it as the ghost when speaking with her. She goes on to tell us that she knew of a man that lived there before Rob and his family moved in. He was a local at the bar she worked at, and he had apparently died of brain cancer some time ago. When we asked her what his name was, she said, yeah, his name was Dennis, but we all called him Denny. I felt like I had just been struck by lightning. Rob claims the activity had stopped completely since then. Had we given the spirit peace by acknowledging him or befriending him? Did he finally go to the other side because we learned his backstory? How is it possible he told us his name without ever actually telling us his name? I have so many questions. This is my ghost story, told as well as I could remember it. Case notes, file number 99. So, knowing an entity's name, often in mythology or legends, carries great power with it. From demons to dragons, something about the truth contains energy that is harnessed. If this is a written rule of the game, a commandment from God, I don't know, but indeed confirmation of veritas is nothing to laugh at. It's powerful. But it is incredible that your assumed name for him turned out to be his real name. What are the odds, really? I really hope that's the case though, that learning his name and speaking it aloud, confirming it, is what allowed him to rest, or reset. The author responded to me saying, 100% agree with you. I believe our discovery is what had pushed him to the next world. The crazy thought is that maybe he knew this and assumed our minds would work in a certain way after revealing himself. And I said, it's a cool theory that he actually appeared to you in a denim jacket, hoping you'd call him Denny, almost like a mentalist magician that uses the forcing technique to influence the choice of his audience. It doesn't always work, but in this case, if that's what he did, it certainly was successful. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and feel free to watch more on my channel. I have a lot more content.